This is Reality Check. I'm Matt.
And I'm Chris. We're two licensed therapists.
And two military veterans.
And we're here to smash societal fantasy
so you can live in reality.
Welcome to Reality Check.
Today's Reality Check is human beings are actually predators, not prey.
Yep, and to clarify, human beings are the hunter type of predators, not the ones that run into Chris Hansen.
Right, exactly. So we're meant to hunt, and we are not just predators, we are the ultimate apex predator.
Mm-hmm.
We hunt whatever we want, and there aren't animals that subsist on human beings.
Yep.
We're not actively hunted. That's not to say we couldn't get killed being stupid,
Right.
but we're not a target for any predator out there. And our hands and thumbs, which can grab things, and our very developed comparative brain, allows us to think and to strategize and to create tools and do all kinds of things. So essentially, we can hunt whatever we want. But this is very, very important because hunters in nature only succeed when they act as hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine a fox as a prey. It doesn't work very well, but I've seen it. Mongolia, there's a show I saw on Netflix, I don't remember the name of it, but it featured people who would take eagles and they would use the eagles to hunt foxes. And it's fascinating to see a fox running from an eagle. So think, the claws are forward, the mouth, the bite forward, everything about a fox is here and forward.
Yep.
It has nothing to defend itself from behind. So when the eagle comes in, the fox is helpless. You already know it's over. You think, oh, the fox can fight back. No, it can't. It doesn't have horns like some prey animals. It doesn't have a powerful kick like a zebra does that can actually take out a lion or a giraffe. It is not successful as a prey animal, and it gets destroyed. It loses every single time. And so as a predator, you actually have to be in a forward position.
No.
Now, what would happen if this fox were to turn around and face the eagle and start chasing the eagle? So think about the psychological part of that. Now you might see the eagle veer away and say, "Oh, I'm going to take some easier prey, not this predator who's coming at me."
Yeah, and so to even translate that into modern day, when you might not necessarily get picked off by another predator as human-to-human interaction, if you fall into the prey role, you die inside in a way. Like you stop putting effort into things, you stop trying to pursue purpose and meaning, like you just kind of like go numb, and then everything is just bland and gray and depressing, and what's the point of living? I always, through the personal interaction research, as well as my years as a therapist, two defining mindsets in successful people versus people who are victims is the successful person will always say, I'm out there doing life, where the person that is failing says, life is being done to me.
Exact. Perfect segue into the next part of this, which is that there are two forces at work in nature. Forces that act and forces that are acted upon. See, the predator is the force that is acting, and the prey is the force that is being acted upon. It has to get away. A rock is a force that is acted upon. I can pick up the rock and throw it. I'm the force that is acting. So the degree to which we are a force that acts versus a force that is acted upon correlates with the degree to which we feel success, we feel happiness, we feel purpose, and life becomes worth living. But the degree to which we become the rock that gets thrown or the predator that gets chased, see, then that also correlates with the amount of misery. And the key thing is resentment. See, resentment typically comes from inaction or helplessness because we're not taking the active role. The point is, no, we don't have claws and teeth, but we're built as predators, we're built as hunters, and we must move forward, and we have to go get life. This is deep in the human psychology because we celebrate great hunters.
Right.
Think about this. If you talk about great boxers, if you talk about great football players, great basketball players, people like LeBron James is a basketball player because he goes at the rim. So we like seeing somebody be aggressive.
Right.
And we celebrate rags to riches stories. This is why I went out and he got life, right? He just kept pressing, blood, sweat, and tears. We love all this stuff. It's in our psychology because we at heart are hunters as well. And the greatest leaders I have found are people who are hunting life. And a lot of times people, when they are attracted to that, sometimes it's because they're like that, and often it's because they're not. and they wish they could say and do the things that hunter is out there saying and doing. And so
Right.
what happens is then they're left to receive whatever life gives them and to be resentful and to be miserable.
No. I had this huge turning point in parents. You might want to think about this. So, teenage girl client starts just talking about me, how absolutely miserable her life is, and how nothing has worked out, and how just nothing matters, and goes on and on and on, and then ends it with like, I just don't want to live anymore. And I said, I'm like, you know what? Like, I wouldn't want to live the life that you just described either. Like, why don't we collaborate together to forge a life for you that you actually do want to live? And she just looked at me like I was an alien. She's like, I never thought of that.
Right. And part of, I think, the very pernicious nature of our culture in the United States today is we're very driven to tell people how they're disenfranchised and how they're disadvantaged and why they should be angry at this person and why they should be angry at that person. But the problem with this kind of doctrine, is, if you will, is that it makes people pray, it makes people resentful, it makes them inactive, it leads to depression, it leads to suicide, it leads to all kinds of terrible things.
Right.
But when you sit with people like we have, we look them in the eyes and say, let's go get life.
Right.
Like, let's do this.
No.
And they take it, there's a fire that all of a sudden ignites within them. And then all of a sudden things in life start working. And what did you do different?
No.
Like, what is different? The circumstances aren't necessarily different. But the direction is, because now you're moving forward. You're not going backwards anymore, which you're weak. You don't have the horns. You don't have the powerful hooves.
Right.
You are a forward creature.
Yeah.
And that is the key thing in life. I don't care what's happened to you. You need to be forward, and that's when life can start working.
Well, and to do that, even to go past that, is you have to ignore modern societal constructs. It's even worse than what you're putting, Matt, because I've seen in modern constructs today that society is literally telling people to be dumber and be slower because it's not polite to be smarter and faster. If somebody in the comic section can find this book, I'd really appreciate it. But there was this book I read when I was in high school, and it was basically about a society that was on a completely level playing field. You were only as good as the weakest and dumbest person on the planet, and you'd have these individuals, like, okay, if you're strong, you had to wear like restraints, you had to wear like weighted clothes. If you were smart, you had to wear a cap that literally created like buzzing and interrupting noises in your head to prevent you from thinking as fast as anybody else. It literally crippled everybody to bring everybody into an average center of being, and everyone was miserable.
Well, and that would be accurate, and that's one thing that happens in certain organizations and certain governments. If you had your goal to dominate a population, you first have to make them pray.
Right.
So to make them pray, you have to make them no longer be in a pursuing state in life. So what you have to do is tell them that it's bad.
Yeah.
You have to tell them that it's not fair. Tell them that you don't deserve what you have.
Yeah. Tell them that that you are beautiful, smart, brave, and wonderful, and you are perfect just the way you are. And
Just the way you are.
And there is no need to ever pursue yourself or even become like anything else than what you are right now.
And if somebody says that, I say, are you a turtle? Do you have a turtle shell where you can pull into your shell and you can just sit there and be fine? It works for turtles, I guess. And of course, eventually they have to find food. But it works for turtles. We don't have shells. We're not built that way.
No.
So the moment we start saying we're okay as we are, which conflates a whole nother concept of we should love people for the core of who they are, which is not the same thing. But see how you confuse that.
No.
You take a concept like loving people at their core and you try to make it, no, we're loving you as you are.
Right.
They're not the same thing. We love everyone for their core and for the person they are deep down, and we at the same time, if we truly care about them, we encourage them to move forward, because to stay still or to go backwards is misery.
Yeah. Well, and even the broader concept of understanding versus acceptance. You can understand somebody, you can understand their perspective and where they're coming from, and not accept what they say. So like if a teacher is bragging about how they're turning their kindergartner students trans, like, okay, I understand you. I don't want to. I want to pour bleach into my brain. I understand you. I don't accept you. Like, I don't accept that. That is evil. You need to be stopped. But then people are confusing this concept of understanding somebody and accepting them. Blank acceptance is enabling.
Right, because again, you're not helping somebody, you're not encouraging someone to move forward, you're encouraging something to stay still, right, and to not move forward. And you really can never truly stay still. If you're stagnant, you're going backwards. In
Right,
life.
and it goes back into our segment on trans people, where if you're great just the way you are, and you're told you're great just the way you are, and you hate yourself, how do you deal with that paradox? I hate myself, but I've been told I'm great just the way I am. And that fights and that internal conflict can lead to all sorts of negative, self-hating, and potentially like suicidal outcomes.
And that's where misguided affirming actually doesn't help the person. What helps the person, and I love to do this, is to look at someone and we talk and say, this sucks. Like, this life that you've had, this is rough. I get it. Now let's go.
Right.
And to see that light in their eyes and to walk with them, and then eventually they're walking on their own and they're going and get life. And again, a lot of the circumstances may not have changed, but life has changed.
Yeah.
So to sum this up, be a hunter. Hunt life. We feel good when we progress. We feel terrible when we stagnate.
Yeah.
So always be moving forward.
Right.
Always be looking for, where am I getting stuck? And when you're miserable, and I've been doing this a long time, depressed people very often are stuck somewhere in their lives.
No.
And if they find where to move forward, all of a sudden the depression is less. So always be moving forward, always be progressing, and that is the beginning to seeking happiness.
Yeah, and it's basically, back to that blank affirmation stage, you unconditionally are loved. You unconditionally have worth. You are worth actively and unapologetically pursuing any life that has meaning and purpose for you. Like, your worth isn't stifled on what people tell you. Go find it.
And me personally, I reject if anyone tells me you're good how you are. Because my first thing is to say, no, I'm not. And don't insult me by telling me that this is as good as I can be.
Right.
Because I want to be more.
Yeah, and you deserve to be more.
We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to Reality Check. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment below.
And if you know anyone else that could use a reality check, share the link.
See you next time.